we're here today to get public comment on the proposed naming of the Southside Lions Community Center and Gym to the Ramon V. Quintero Community Center. I am Nikki Ramos. I am one of the assistant directors for the City of San Antonio Parks and Recreation Department. I am going to break from my little script just to show you. I know there's some of us that are on screen. I want to let you know who is on screen. Stephen Whitworth, if you can wave, Steve. He is one of the attorneys with the City Attorney's Office, and he represents the Parks Department. Ryan Evans, who's been running the show from the back, is our executive assistant with Parks, and he runs all of our daily lives and makes sure these things happen. And then we have Jennifer Ramos, a former councilwoman here, who is serving on a committee. So I'll talk a little bit about the committee, but she is serving on behalf of the council office for this process. So to give you some background, the current councilwoman, Phyllis Villagran, submitted a request to name this community center and gym the Ramon V. Quintero Community Center, as required by Article 26, Section 6 of naming, renaming, or it's the naming and renaming ordinance. I have invited the surrounding community to provide written or oral comments about the proposed renaming. So we have received some feedback in advance of this meeting. And then, of course, you all are here for public comment as well. As part of the process, a committee is formed to hear public comments, and then the committee will make a recommendation to council. So, and the council will be the official vote to consider the name change. I've already introduced myself. Jennifer Ramos is the other committee member, so there are two of us. In terms of notification, notice of this hearing was mailed to residents and businesses within 600 feet of the park property. Just to let you know, city ordinance requires 200 feet. This is a large park, it's a large area. We went ahead and expanded and notified at 600 feet around the park. So just so you know what the outreach was. We also advertised this hearing on our website through SA Speak Up, which is the City of San Antonio Engagement and Outreach Initiative, Express News, Southside Reporter, San Antonio Report, and we actually did a press release as well. So there was some pretty good outreach to make sure folks knew about the proposed change and had the opportunity to have their voices heard. A little bit of background, the proposed name is recognizing Mr. Quintero's dedicated life to improving the quality of life for San Antonians, specifically here in District 3. He did pass away on May 14th of 2021. He was a World War II veteran, served in the United States Army from 1941 to 1945 in the Fiji Islands. He was instrumental in founding the Sunny Slope, Pasadena Heights Neighborhood Association and led efforts to build Southside Lions Community Center. Some recognition and accomplishments of Mr. Quintero. He was Highland Park Neighborhood Association Award for Service on the Executive Committee in 1992. State House of Representatives Award for a founding member and past president to Sunny Slope, Pasadena Heights Neighborhood Association, 1997. Environmental Leadership Award for Distinguished Service in 2001. And recognition from the City of San Antonio, Keep San Antonio Beautiful, in 2002. So the steps in this process, as I kind of mentioned briefly, were written comments via email. They had to be received by 4 o'clock today to be considered in the record. They could be mailed to the Parks Department as well. And then we have in-person comments, so each of you who wish to speak will have 2 minutes to speak. Then, as I mentioned before, Jennifer Ramos and I will confer, make a recommendation. You'll know what our recommendation is here before the meeting is over. So I am going to ask Ryan Evans to assist in reading into the record any written public comments that were received via email from the time the hybrid meeting format was announced last week. Ryan?
Thank you, Nikki. Is that better? Can you turn your speaker off on your computer? So we can just limit feedback in the room. That or Ruben, there you go, perfect. Is that better? Excellent. From Mark Zaragoza, have no objection to the name change. My grandpa Quintero was an amazing man that truly cared about the community he lived in. I've never seen someone care so much and do even more to make things better for the people that live here. From Martha Zaragoza, I have no objection. Mr. Quintero was a great man by not only serving our country, but by also focusing on his own community and continuing to serve his fellow men in an intimate setting. He helped initiate so many changes in the neighborhood, and by being here at this hearing, I can see that even after his passing, how much a beautiful impact he left within the community. From Alicia Torrentera, I have no objection. Mr. Quintero was a great man that led by example, and we should all strive to follow his footsteps. From Isabel Fears, I vote to change the name of Southside Lions Gym to the Ramon B. Quintero Community Center. From Robert Ibarra, as a member of the Pasadena Heights organization and a Southeast resident, I vote yes to change the name of the Southside Lions Gym to Ramon Quintero Community Center. From Gregory Rips, Ramon was the founder of the Highland Park Neighborhood Association in 1985. No one was a bigger promoter of HPNA activities or better barker for our annual festivals. HPNA bylaws were written to permit him to serve on the board, allowing him to continue to serve on the board even though he was a resident of the Sunny Slope neighborhood. However, I oppose renaming public works on principle. I think such efforts are a waste of the city's time and resources. Has anyone ever completed a cost analysis of such renaming? It ultimately requires changing everything from letterheads and directories to signage and maps. There we go. Again, these are comments that are written. They have a maximum of 300 words. I'll start from the beginning. Mark Zaragoza, I have no objection. My grandpa Quintero was an amazing man that truly cared about the community he lived in. I've never seen someone care so much and do even more to make things better for the people that live here. Martha Zaragoza, I have no objection. Mr. Quintero was a great man by not only serving our country, but by also focusing on his own community and continuing to serve his fellow men in an intimate setting. He helped initiate so many changes in the neighborhood, and by being here at this hearing, I can see that even after his passing, how much of a beautiful impact he left within the community. From Isabel Fears, I vote to change the name of Southside Lions Gym to Ramon B. Quintero Community Center. From Alicia Torrentera, I have no objection. Mr. Quintero was a great man that led by example, and we should all strive to follow his footsteps. Robert Ibarra, as a member of the Pasadena Heights organization and a Southeast resident, I vote yes to change the name of the Southside Lions Gym to Ramon Quintero Community Center. From Gregory Rips, dear sir, Ramon was the founder of the Highland Park Neighborhood Association in 1985. No one was a bigger promoter of Highland Park Neighborhood Association activities or better barker at annual festivals. HPNA bylaws were written to permit him to serve on the board, allowing him to continue to serve on the board even though he was a resident of the Sunny Slope neighborhood. However, I oppose renaming public works on principle. I think such efforts are a waste of the city's time and resources. It ultimately requires changing everything from letterheads and directories to signage and maps. It also confuses people and the historical continuity of the public facility. Last, when it involves the name of a local person, the renaming inevitably snubs others who are arguably deserving of the same honor. I publicly oppose changing the names of Mission Stadium, Durango Street, and Old Highway 90. For me to support naming an existing building after a respected friend, I would be a hypocrite. Therefore, I oppose the renaming of the Southside Lands Community Center, but for the reasons I state above. That is all of the written comments that were received following the announcement of the public hearing going to a hybrid in-person and virtual format. When the initial public hearing went out, the notice, it was supposed to be all in person, so all public comments were here. Due to the COVID environment, there was a decision to go partly hybrid, in-person and virtual. When that announcement was released on Friday, these are the written comments that would have been public comments since Friday.
Okay, so, so we're gonna move on from after, since Ryan is complete with that process, we're gonna move on to in-person comments. I'm gonna invite each of you to speak up in the order in which you signed up. So Ryan, I believe, has the sign-up sheet. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. And again, if you could stand at the table, I'm gonna switch the camera over so that, those who are participating virtually see, the speaker.
Francisco Herrera. Mr. Quintero, we just want to make sure everyone's looking for you as well, and Veronica.
For those who don't know me, my name is Francisco Quintero. And I'm not also. Stay up to those who are welcome. In the meetings and also in the events. I work for the water system. I've been there 40 years. And I also want y'all know that, being honest, I was in all the meetings when I was there. I could. So, just to let y'all know that.
Chris Quintero.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the committee for taking your time to hear our comments. My name is Chris Quintero. Raymond was my great-grandfather. So I did want to share a little bit of information in regards to why I'm here today. He was very instrumental in ensuring that this community was safe. Sidewalks, everything was up to par and getting it to catch up to the rest of it. I know a lot of people would ask here and online why we would want to remain known passing and stuff. So, like I stated earlier, my grandpa was born in 1920, started in the military. Even at 100 years old, he still helped local politicians' campaigns, putting signs, passing out flyers, attending these meetings, through the community with sidewalks, street lights, better streets, and whatnot. You know, even at 100, we couldn't slow him down. He's still out there campaigning with everybody. He was a vital member of this community in getting this gym park built as part of this neighborhood. This ensured everyone had a good place, had a place to go and play sports, attend school activities, work out, meet new friends, or gather with friends. Not just for kids, but adults, anybody of any age. This community center provides sanctuary for a lot of kids, school, high schoolers, after-school programs. Without this community gym, a lot of kids would be out in the streets doing a lot of bad things. I'm really thankful that this gym is here because it was a sanctuary for a lot of people. The community center is helped with gatherings, birthday parties, celebrations, and things whatnot. Of all the things he accomplished, he wasn't doing it for any awards or certificates. You know, if he was here today, he would just brush you off and say, "You guys need to focus on something else. Go work on the streets, the sidewalk." He did it for any recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Quintero. They're having a little trouble hearing at home, so we're gonna ask you to stand right next to the TV as the microphone's here in the webcam. Glenn Hefner. And ask you to come as close as you can to the TV as possible.
How's that?
There we go.
Can you hear me now? I'd like to know who brought all this name change up to the forefront? Who brought it up?
We received a request from the councilwoman's office.
From who?
The first slide of the presentation said that it was a request from the councilwoman's office.
And who did she get it from?
The request came from the councilwoman's office.
What person in this district gave her the name change? Not just an office, what person?
Well, we received it from the councilwoman's office, so we can look at that information.
And that's all you know?
That's what I know, yes.
The request comes from the council office to the city clerk's office. The city clerk's office, then at that point, then acknowledges receipt and it begins the naming ordinance process. So at this point, the request came from the District 3 Council office.
So you don't know who brought it up or what?
We don't know. We receive it.
We received
As
a
that
request from
process.
the city clerk's office. The request came from the District 3 Council office. If that's something you would like to follow, we do have a couple members of the District 3 Council office here that they can maybe speak to after the public hearing.
Yeah, I'd like to know who brought it up to begin with. We have many people in our district who are well versed in what has gone on in this organization before now. They're here now. They put their money into it now. And here you give me a person who we don't know. He's never put a dime into this. I'm sure he was a great man and his family loved him. But that doesn't give him rights to the leadership of this organization without everyone knowing what's going on. And right now, we don't know who he was kin to, who he knew, what back door came in. And you expect us to name it after him, and we don't know why. Why the name change? It's been that way since 44?
Again, we do have representatives from the District 3 Council office after here. Just as a reminder, tonight is a public hearing based solely on the request that has already been submitted, and it is for the public hearing for the naming of the Southside Lions Community Center to the Raymond Quintero Community Center. We're going to ask everyone's public comments to be related to the public naming process. And again, this is just a committee recommendation, at which point it then goes to full city council for approval. So anything that happens here, the committee will then do a recommendation to move forward. Our next one is Denise Ojeda. Mr. Ojeda, I'm going to stand right next to the TV so that they can hear you at home.
Hi, Jennifer. I don't know if you remember me, but we sat on the board together at Democracy Prep. I recently got kicked off, so we'll have to catch up soon.
I sure do. Good evening.
Oh, girl, it's a mess over there. Excuse me, ma'am. Madam, it's a mess over there. But anyway, so camera's going? Yes. Hello, my name is Denise Ojeda. Committee and Councilwoman Villagrán, thank you for bringing us to here. I'd like to lean in on a couple of things, and that is, what I'm hearing is politicians, campaigns, sidewalks, and safety for everyone. The sidewalks in my neighborhood aren't that great, and my mom doesn't have sidewalks. Another thing is, thank you for being so honorable and saying, the gentleman would have wanted us to focus on something else, because I would like us to focus on San Antonio's women history, because San Antonio has a rich history of just these hidden figures.
Name change.
Excuse me, sir, I did not interrupt you while you were speaking, and I'm happy to help you get your questions answered. So I am a military brat, which is why I'm wearing my Army hat to honor my daddy's service to our country. And I'd like us to think about the 2016 Hidden Figures film, where NASA computers helped America enter into the space race. And where I'm coming with that is because San Antonio has its own history of hidden figures, one of them being my classmate and alum, Emma Tenayuca. And what I love about Emma Tenayuca's story that resonates with me is the only thing she cared about was making sure that women and children had food, water, safety, and well-paying jobs. Because guess what? When our men were shipped off to sea, it was the women in the workforce that ensured we San Antonio kept moving forward and our economies kept going
Thank you,
forward.
Ms.
Thank you
Vera.
very much.
Thank you, Mr. Highland.
Also,
Um,
what is your name?
I'm Ryan Evans, I'm the executive assistant for the Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Rec. Okay.
Next, we have Patricia Cano.
Hello, good evening, afternoon.
hold on, Max, now.
Okay. Good afternoon, good evening. We do want to thank, Mr. Quintero for his loyal civil service and military service, but it's not about him. As there are many out there who have done great things for this district, the question would be, why now? Who put this little bone in her, thought in her head? When dollars don't come easy, to the district, how much money are we going to be spending when money could be well spent in other areas of the district? Why now? Some people got the mailers, some didn't. I was lucky enough to have somebody let me know, didn't know that, where to find it on the website, happened to hear it on the news, maybe in the reporter. But a lot of people out there weren't aware of this name change, and we're concerned about the dollars spent already. Well, then keep the trails in the park upkept better, and maybe name a trail after him. But there's no need to, as one of the written people said, have to spend name change, letterhead, all these different things when, hey, name and upkeep a nice trail. We've got a lot of trails that are not being upkept. Let's keep them up and use the money better in the district. That's basically what it is. We're hard pressed for dollars, and we certainly need them used better spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cano. Our last resident signed up to speak tonight is Barbara Fowler.
I've been a resident in this area for a very long time, in fact, most of my life, and I've noticed in the city of San Antonio often change names to honor people, but the consequences of those changes are not always well thought through. That's why we're having these meetings. I agree that there should be a way of honoring people who have given a great deal of service to our community. But I also know that we have to be very respectful and honest about how we spend our money. One of the things that I was thinking of, instead of changing the name, just put Ramon Castillo or Quintero at as a way of doing. After you've done the study of what is the cost going to be, what is it going to run into as far as expense of time, energy, and look at it on a long-term basis. When you're out of paper, you need new letterhead, you don't have to print it, that would be a time when you go, this is when we can do a change because we're going to have to do it anyway. There needs to be more thoughtfulness in the process. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I think we need to think it through more clearly. Use our brains. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fowler. That concludes everyone who has signed up to speak in person tonight, as well as all emails that have, or comments that were received after the announcement of the virtual format as well. Turn it back over to Nikki.
Okay, so thank you guys for your comments. In total, so just to bring it away from this meeting and let you guys know how the rest of the feedback was, between the responses we received from the public notice, both in mail and email leading up to this meeting, we had 103 people have no objection to this renaming and 12 that were in opposition. So just to let you know, we had 115 respond in writing before this meeting, and that was what their views were. So again, 103 with no opposition. And Brian, I don't know, I need to turn the camera back, or do you care? Sorry, I don't know if you just want it facing the table. And then 12 in opposition. So at this time, myself and my fellow committee member, Jennifer, will have opportunity for discussion and to make a recommendation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer.
Good evening. Thank you, Nikki. And
Jennifer, real quick, let me just see if there's a clarifying question.
okay.
We only mailed them to District 3, so that's who, well, the mail outs, that's what we would have. The email could have been anybody with response.
Public hearing notice went out early. Residents, as mentioned in the presentation, was mailed to residents within 600 feet of the park, of Southside Lions Park. City ordinance only requires 200 feet. To make sure we included more of the neighborhood on the surrounding the park. The public notice also advertised in the press news, on the department's website, on the city's SA Speak Up website, as well as the Southside Reporter and the San Antonio Report.
I'm sorry, if y'all could, while we're having discussion, if you don't mind keeping it down.
What
Thank
day
you.
did you notify us?
No.
City ordinance requires 45 days before the public notice for the hearing, for the notice to go out.
Okay, so we're gonna, sorry, Jennifer, I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Nikki, for hosting this and the Parks Department for having this public hearing. I know we advertised it. I am also the Highland Hills Neighborhood Association president. We made mention of it at our neighborhood meeting January 3rd, just to make sure people had a chance to come in and give their comments. So I'm basically here just as a part of the process to, I know there's a city official ordinance on how this process works of renaming city facilities or city streets. And so this is part of the process. I was asked by Councilwoman Villagrán to serve. Appreciate the ability to serve and always be a part of the community. That being said, I had a question on the 103 no objections. So do we know how many notices were sent out, that 600-foot diameter, or how many that entailed?
About 500.
Okay, and so 103 people took the opportunity to respond with no objection.
Was it public notices that also could have been anyone who noticed, or the district three office made advertised for the public hearing?
So I don't know if you can hear him, Jennifer, but what he's saying is there was the 500 that were sent out, but then because we also promoted it in other ways, via news release, our website, SA Speak Up, that was 103 of everybody who had seen it, who either received the notice or saw the information.
Okay, and so we don't have a breakdown out of those 500 notices, how many got mailed back?
No, ma'am. Do we know how many were mail and how many were email, or no? No.
Okay, and then also another clarifying question for myself. Were people able to do double on those surveys, or is it just a one vote time once they submit their name and address? And these are just questions, and I know this is the process, but in totality, in looking at this, there is 103 no objections. It sounds like there's a lot less in opposition. So I'm going to leave it up to Nikki. I'd like to hear your side or anything that you'd have to provide input on.
Well, I know the numbers as well. Vast majority in support of, the comments today. I mean, I do appreciate everyone coming forward with their comments. There's no doubt there was public engagement from this individual. Whether it happened, 30 years ago or 5 years ago, I don't think you can, I don't know that makes a difference, to be quite honest, for me, because if he was instrumental in putting this facility here, I think that's why this facility was selected for the location. That doesn't also undervalue what people are doing today, because we do have opportunities to name things or recognize people in ways if they're doing things today. So I don't know that it has to be one or the other. I mean, this request came in at this point. And so I don't know that it should be if you did it today or if you did it 10 years ago, to be quite honest, because there's value to what people bring to the community. So that to me, so those were the things I was listening to in terms of the comment, and and in response to, I know we don't have to point for point it, but I don't want anyone to think this is not a thoughtful process, that there's always expense in things that you do, whether it be your time or signage or, things that we're ordering. I mean, we focus on the thoughtfulness of the process in terms of the recognition for the individual and not necessarily the other pieces, because there's always going to be, we look at it on when we're ordering paper or when we're changing a sign. I don't know that I would want to put off recognizing someone for that purpose. So I think this is a thoughtful process in that it seeks the community's input, and that we know there are changes. I mean, it happens often when there's renamings of streets. We've named trailheads, we've named new things. So I don't want anyone to walk away thinking this was not done thoughtfully.
Just to add on cost, in this case, cost will be minimal. It's different when you're changing a large name of a park or street. You've got street signs that are all along the street. You've got multiple park signage. In this case, it would really just be the sign on the front of the building. All of the street signs throughout the park would really just say community center. There is no letterhead for the specific center. All of our community centers don't typically use.
That's a
So I just want to clarify, in this specific instance, cost would be fairly minimal. It would really just be sign on top of the building.
Ryan, that's a great point. I mean, and there's so many areas in Southside Lions. Southside Lions is one of the largest parks in San Antonio. And so, there's so many more areas. There's, the senior center is also another community center that somebody could be recognized at, or the baseball fields. I mean, we don't want to go down this road either, but also, I mean, this was something that was driven and has been proposed. And it seems that there's a good no objection or in favor of some of this. I believe also I saw some numbers of when area neighborhood associations came in support of this as well. So also, you had made mention, Nikki, something I lost track with Ryan's comments, but the point is that the Southside Lions Park is fairly large. We'd have other opportunities to also look at future naming opportunities if necessary, if needed, if we wanted to. There has been obviously some in favor or support for this, the council office, and also I guess the next steps. This is just one part of the process. So they have, before it gets to council, it looks like it'll be early March. Is that correct?
That is correct. Once the committee, so this is, again, just to remind everyone at home and in the room, this does not final tonight. What merely happens today is the committee will make a recommendation to move forward with the name change or to not move forward with the name change. If there is a recommendation to move forward with the name change, they would then recommend that name change to City Council. City Council, the full City Council will still need to go through the entire approval process, which means it'll be on an agenda in early March, and all 10 City Council members and the mayor will be part of that process. Once it is approved, if it is approved by full City Council, at that point, then the name change become official.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Why was tonight chosen to be this meeting tonight? Why?
Oh, we set this one back in December.
Ordinance, this date met the 90-day time frame. That is why they mail out on date, that's why the date.
City ordinance requires a specific set of timeframes from the date the notice is mailed out from to the date that the hearing is set, to the date that City Council approves. So when you look at days of the week, we're trying to avoid Wednesday afternoons because that's citizens to be heard at full City Council, trying to avoid Thursdays, that's a full day session at City Council as well. Monday was a holiday, Friday evenings are when our coming time. So when you're trying to look at the date, it was basically from the date of the mail out, and find a date that works, and then work your way back with all in accordance with the data of the city ordinance. Mind you, this process is dictated by city ordinance, not dictated by the Parks and Recreation Department. It is not dictated by the district office. It is not dictated by the office of city clerk. It's the city ordinance that has the naming process, and so that's where all of this falls in line.
So we could not have this meeting on a regular meeting night.
For what regular meeting night? This is for a specific public hearing for the naming of this specific facility. So to have that in a meeting that is for a larger district does not, that's coincides with two separate processes. This is specifically a public hearing for the naming of a facility, which again is a separate process dictated by city ordinance. That's not in conjunction with any sort of district, any other pre-scheduled district meeting or event.
So you always have that meeting on a night when you call a small crowd, is that right?
Just like there would be any sort of meeting for a community engagement process, whether that's a public hearing for an upcoming project, a public hearing for a community event or a town hall, all those dates are going to have to generally be arbitrarily picked. There's a town hall date. If a district is holding a town hall date, the district picks the date and advertises that. In this case, based on city ordinance, the department had to identify a date for a public hearing. This was the best date that tried to make it available that did not coincide with other city type events so that we can ensure maximum participation. We also ensured that because of the co-environment, we're now offering this virtually as well and provided an opportunity for written comments for folks who were not able to necessarily attend in person. We do have a number of folks also watching online and virtually. So I do want to again try and round back to where we're at for the point of the meeting. Public comments have been heard. At this point, the committee will then make a recommendation to either move forward with the naming or not move forward with the naming to recommend the full city council, at which point the public hearing will then close public comment. We can be glad to stick around and answer any specific questions if you'd like, but again, we want to refocus. The intent of today's meeting was to hear public comment. We have done to this point, so I want to continue to allow the recommendations, the committee to do a recommendation. We will need a verbal, physical recommendation in support of or against the name of both Nikki and Jennifer.
So you always have this meeting night.
Sir, I'm sorry, but we'd answered the question. We would never, I can tell you, sir, we would absolutely never schedule a meeting in a way that we would not have community engagement. That's not our goal. That's not ever what we want, is to hear what the public wants. And that's what we're doing this evening. I'm sorry? I'm saying we did as much outreach to see who came, and this is who came. We also had 115 people respond to us verbally. I'm sorry that you don't like the day that was picked or the way it's going, but just to be respectful to the process, we have followed our process, and I think we've answered your questions. I apologize if you don't love the answers, but okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the feedback. We will take that for the next public meeting.
Okay, Jennifer, do you want to vote support or opposition?
Yeah, just final comments. I just really appreciate everybody coming this evening. There has been a public process. I do appreciate that people have taken the time, whether to do it online, sent in mail, or attend this evening. And with the amount of no objection, just looking at the numbers at this point, I feel comfortable making a recommendation, moving this forward to council. And I would just also say in my closing comments is that, you know, within this time, it seems like there is a month and a half before March. So if you have any disagreements, I mean, we are just part of this public process, me and Nikki. I'm not here representing Highland Hills Neighborhood Association. I'm not here other than just a community person here. So just want to help everybody provide their input at some point. This is one of the processes, and me and Nikki are glad to participate in this. And that's why I feel comfortable just with the amount of no objections and support of this, moving this forward for the council decision.
I also, I echo you in terms of the information that we received from the public does overwhelmingly show support. And I also vote to move this forward to council for consideration. Okay, so with that, I do want to thank you guys for your time. Thank you for your patience with the technology. You know, we're 2 years in and we're all still kind of figuring out a little bit. But like Jennifer said, we will put information up for sure on our website, and we'll coordinate with the council office to make sure information is put out there when this item goes forward for final consideration. Again, I don't know if you want to say any words or if yeah.
Are we all doing, can y'all hear me?
I'm gonna flip the camera. I got it. I'll flip it.
My name is Raymond. I'm the chief of staff for the council for Deputy Agon, or Phyllis Agon. Good. To go back, this actually stems from the previous councilperson, Rebecca Agon, and then it came to us to continue moving forward with, making. So in other words, we do have some time between now and then. Our office is open. Feel free to email us still have questions, concerns, or opposed. We want feedback, we want to hear from every single one of you all on even ideas, that would come forward. But our office is here. We are always wanting to hear back from the constituents of the district, especially those within the area, and even outside the area, so, what I'll do is for everyone that's here, I'll give you my information, so you can know, whether it's in opposition, whether it's in favor, or whether if you have questions, so I can get information back to you. But I just wanted to introduce myself, and the councilman currently is at the Joe Marie, public drainage project right now, too. She wanted to be here, but there's another project in regard to the flooding, so she's at that specific, meeting right now. Once again, my name is Ruben, thank you.
All right,